There's a reason. There's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam that says that Krishna actually appears to each devotee in the form that is most dear to that devotee. How unique and how personal is that? And the Bhagavatam describes that there are actually unlimited forms of the Supreme Lord. In fact, the third chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the incarnation of the Lord being like the waves of the ocean. And who can count the waves of the ocean? Right? No one can. And Krishna appears not just in human form, but he appears like just yesterday. We had the appearance of Krishna as Varahadev, yeah, in a boar form, which normally is considered the most abominable form that you can think of. But Krishna comes in that form. He comes as a fish. He comes as a turtle or a tortoise. He comes in so many different forms. He comes in one of our most beloved forms, right here on the altar, Lord Ramachandra, right? But in the age of Kali, it's described. So Krishna is called Triyuga, meaning here that appears in 3 out of the 4 yugas. Not Kali Yuga. Shri Krishna appears, and the Bhagavatam describes that this appearance of Krishna is very unique and it's hidden. In the sense that he doesn't appear as God, but he appears in a very unique form. We can recite, I'll recite first and then you can follow. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 forms. Bhakta Rupa, as a devotee, that is Lord Chaitanya. Today's appearance day, Bhakta Swarupakam, an expansion of a devotee, Lord Nityananda. Bhakta Avataram, in the incarnation of a devotee, Advaitacharya, whose appearance day was just a few days ago. Bhaktakyam, known as a devotee, that is Srivas Pandit, or Narada Muni, who appeared as Srivas Pandit. And Bhakta Shaktikam, the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Radha Pandit. So Krishna appears in 5 forms in Kali Yuga, and those of you who have been to Mayapur, you have seen the most amazing, beautiful form of Krishna in those 5 forms, the Panchatattva. Yeah? Anyone here been to Mayapur? Yeah? Quite a few show of hands, right? Most beautiful, and if you have not been, you can find out online on mayapur.com and take darshan of those forms. So, Krishna comes in Kali Yuga, and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraja Goswami actually answers the question that might arise in our mind. Why doesn't Krishna just come as God and just settle it once and for all, right? So no more of this, like we have to look for him in hidden corners of the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavatam. Why doesn't he come like he does? See, he agrees with me. Why doesn't he just come as the Lord himself? And Chaitanya Charitamrita actually addresses this question. The reason is there is so much impersonalism, Mayavad, in this age of Kali, where people, avatars are a dime a dozen. I was in Patel Brothers in Jersey City once, 70 years ago, and I saw a little minor fuss being created. And there was this guy walking like a king, and he was accompanied by, 6 or 7 people. I was like curious, like what's going on? And I asked, one of the guys, like, who is this gentleman that you are following? Oh, don't you know? He's God. And I said, he's God? And he says, yes. And ironically, he himself was called Nityananda or something, right? And he's God. So I was like, Vishnu, Hare Krishna. And I walked away. I didn't want to get into a debate with this guy. But Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that this age is beset. It's plagued by people having all kinds of misconceptions. So if they see Gauranitai, who actually are God, coming and saying that, hey, displaying that Godhood, every one of us will be like tempted, like, really, I can become God. Like the Mayavadi philosophy of you just have to practice hard enough and you can become God one day. Which, if anyone thinks like that here, to be assured that the position of God is taken. and it will never be available to anyone else. There's one God, and He expands in many, many forms, and that position is taken. So, the position of devotee, Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, comes as devotee. The position of devotee, why did he take this position? And again, Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that the position of a devotee, let's be honest, I've been practicing for like 25 something years, and I must confess with shame that I sometimes take devotees for granted, or often take devotees for granted. Devananda is nodding. And I have to remind myself, it's when I read things like this, or I hear classes, that I remember, or I'm reminded, that I'm reminded the position of a devotee is so great that the Supreme Lord personally took the form of a devotee as Lord Chaitanya, simply in order to experience what it means to be a devotee and to experience that joy. And it's described, God has everything. God lacks for nothing, right? Do you agree? But He does lack for one thing. He does not know what it is like to offer worship. Because everyone is offering worship to Krishna. He's sitting in his position as God, and everyone is worshipping Him. And he's realizing that my devotees, headed by Srimati Radharani, the topmost devotee, they're having so much happiness. Their happiness is millions and quadrillions times more than my happiness. And he cannot experience that as God. He has to come as a devotee. That's how great the position of a devotee is. And God comes Himself. And then Krishna never comes by Himself. He always comes with His associates. So He comes in five forms. And then He has His associates who together they experience the love of God, which it's ironic because Krishna is God and God has appeared in 5 forms. But they experience the love of Godhead. And you know what happens when they experience that love of Godhead? They become drunk. Now you might have heard, if you've been coming around long enough, that intoxication is one of those things we're not supposed to do, right? And yet, we worship the topmost drunkards who are standing on the altar. And why is that? They are drunk with the love of God. And what happens to a drunk person? If you've ever seen, if you walk to the Bhakti Center on Thursday nights for the Kirtan, you come from Goloka, and then you come outside and you see all these drunks on the street, right? And Mayuri and Manjulali, they seem very early. And you come out and it's such a contrast. And a drunk person actually does not know what he or she is doing. They're completely out of their mind. And similarly, they're so drunk, these forms of Gaurika, they're so drunk on love for Krishna that they indiscriminately hand out this love to everyone through the process of Kirtan and Vaishnava Seva. And it's amazing that we who are so unqualified that we are in Kali Yuga, we can't even remember what we did yesterday. We have no memory of anything, right? And somehow we have been given the highest. She had water. I'm very concerned about that. Yeah, she's okay. And so these transcendental drunkards, Govinda, are handing out this love of God to all of us through the process of Kirtan and Vaishnava Seva. Next verse that I want to read. Sarva Avatari Krishna. Swayam Bhagavan, I took the wrong meter. Anyway, Swayam Bhagavan. Tanhara Vizya Deha. Shri Balaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Bhagavatam tells us this. That Krishna, all the incarnations originate from Krishna. And Lord Balaram is His second body. Say Krishna Navadvipe Shri Chaitanya Chandra. Say Krishna Navadvipe Shri Chaitanya Chandra. Say Balaram Sange Shri Nityananda. Say Balaram Sange Shri Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada writes, and the scriptures at various places quote, that there is actually no difference between Krishna and Balaram except for complexion. Krishna is dark, Balaram is fair, and mood. Both are God, but they are two different expansions. If you think about, you want to serve someone, say I want to serve, Harinam Anand, where is Harinam Anand? I saw him a minute ago. Yeah. So say I want to serve Harinam Anand Prabhu, some prasad. Who better to tell me what he likes than Harinam Anand Prabhu himself, right? And so rather than speculating that maybe he likes Karela, maybe he likes, tofu or maybe whatever, right? And so Krishna expands as Balaram. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and Balaram is the supreme servitor of Godhead, right? He knows exactly what Krishna wants as the supreme enjoyer, and he engages all living entities in that service, right? Krishnadasa Abhimane Ye Ananda Sindhu.
Krishnadasa Abhimane Ye Ananda Sindhu.
Koti Brahma Sukha Nahe Tara Eka Bindu.
Koti Brahma Sukha Nahe Tara Eka Bindu.
The conception, we talked about it at the beginning, the conception of servitude to Sri Krishna generates such an ocean of joy in the soul that even the joy of oneness with the Absolute, if multiplied 10 million times, could not compare to a drop of that servitude. And that's why Krishna comes himself as his own devotee. Madan Gopal, do you know the meter of this one?
Same one. Jaya Jaya
Jaya Jaya. Do you want to chant? Harinam Anand Prabhu.
He's got
Chant loudly.
Sindhu Gaura Chandra Jaya Jaya Shri Seva Vigraha Nityananda.
Thank you. All glories to Sri Gaurachandra, the ocean of mercy. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu, the personification of devotional service. Right? So, Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that the same Balaram, who is the first expansion of Krishna, is Nityananda. Not that Nityananda is an expansion of Balaram, he is not different from Balaram. Right? And so, Balaram in the spiritual world serves Krishna in every single level. Shantaras as the trees and the stones, and right, Dasyaras as the servant, right, he massages Krishna's lotus feet. As Sakya, he plays games with him, right? Vatsalya, he's the elder brother, so he takes care of Krishna. And as Madhurya, he expands as Manjari, right? Radharani's younger sister. And so Balaram serves Krishna in every single mood. And that same Balaram is not different from Nityananda. And as we go through the pastimes, we hear a couple of things about the greatness of Balaram, as best as I can with my limited intelligence speak. So we'll understand something about who Balaram is. And that personality is not different from Nityananda. So, admittedly, this is an AI-generated image. Nityananda instructs the crow to bring back Malini's bowl. So Nityananda Prabhu, the first 32 years of his life, he spent traveling. First 12 years he was in Ekachakra with his parents, and then the next 20 years he spent traveling around the whole country. And he went to different places of pilgrimage. And he did not come back to Nadia. He did not come to Nadia where Mahaprabhu was. Still Mahaprabhu had started his Sankirtana pastimes, right? And so when Nityananda came to Nadia, he stayed at the house of Srivas Pandit. And Srivas Pandit Prabhu's wife is Malini, right? So Srivas Pandit was a topmost Brahmin. He would worship very nicely. He had deities. And he would worship very nicely. And one of the items of worship, that the paraphernalia that was used, was this bell metal bowl that was used to carry ghee. for the deities, for different things to serve the deity, right? And one day, Malini was cleaning that bowl, and suddenly a crow swooped down and went off with the bowl. And she watched with horrified eyes as the bowl was carried far away into the tree, and the crow came back, but minus the bowl in his mouth, right? And so she was very distressed. Nityananda was there, and he saw Malini distressed. He treated Malini as his mother. She and Srivas Pandit were both considerably older. And he said, "Mother, why are you so upset?" She said, "But this bowl is used by my husband for worshipping Krishna. He puts ghee in this bowl, and now the crow has taken it away." And Nityananda just called out and said, "Hey crow, bring back that bowl." And the crow flew back to where he had hidden the bowl and brought it back and dropped it in Malini's lotus feet, right? And so Malini, she started glorifying Lord Nityananda and said, how wondrous is this particular pastime? You are in the hearts of every living entity as Paramatma, and therefore you are in the heart of that crow also, and you directed that crow to actually do what he just did, which is to bring back that bell metal. But in a previous avatar, you were Lakshman and you served Mother Sita so wonderfully. You guarded her during the Vanvas, you took care of her and Ramachandra in such nice ways. In fact, you destroyed a lot of the army of Ravana as in your previous incarnation as Lakshman, right? And so she glorified him, and she said, "You bear as Shesha, you bear all the countless universes on your head," and it's described that these universes are, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes this, they're carried on Shesha's head like mustard seeds. He doesn't even feel them, right? And in fact, the section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that we are reading right now at home, it talks about the different forms. This is the instruction that Mahaprabhu is giving to Sanatana Goswami, and he's telling him how creation takes place, how many universes there are. There are unlimited universes. And this one that we are in is actually the smallest universe, right? It's 4 billion miles in diameter, and it's the tiniest universe. So our Brahma, the Brahma of our universe, has 4 heads. And then other Brahmas, there are millions of heads, and there are Brahmas with unlimited heads, because they have to look in unlimited directions. The universes are so large, right? And all these are carried by Shesha, who is actually an expansion of Nityananda Bhagavan, right? And so that's the greatness of Balaram. And Nityananda is saying, no, yeah, mother, I'm hungry now, give me some rice. And he just, turned away the glorification, and right away, her motherly love awoke, and she started cooking rice to feed Nityananda. Sachimata's dream. So again, this is in Nadia, right? And you see down below there's Govinda, and up above you have Krishna and Balaram, right? So Sachimata one day, she came and confidentially spoke with Mahaprabhu, and she said, "I had a very wonderful dream last night, but I don't know what to make of it." And Mahaprabhu obviously knew, so he said, "Yes, what was the dream?" And she said, our deities of Krishna Balaram at home? She said, "You and Nityananda were both 5 years old in my dream, and you went inside the temple room to where Krishna Balaram's deities are, and you came out with the deities in your hand. Nityananda had Krishna in his hand, and you had Balaram in your hand." And Mahaprabhu said, "Oh, what happened after that?" And Shimata continued to narrate the pastime. And she said, "You were arguing with Krishna and Balaram, both of you, right?" And she said, the argument started escalating, because you started telling them. In fact, Nityananda told Krishna that this is not the age anymore of cowherd boys. This is the age of the two of us Brahmins, right? And your age is over. That was 5,000 years ago. No more of Krishna and Balaram and cowherd boys and butter pastimes. Now it's all these pastimes for the Ganga and Kirtan pastimes. And she said the deities got very agitated when they heard this. And they said, you better, put us down back on the altar and worship us properly. Otherwise, we're going to box your ears. And so she said, after that, you all four of you started fighting each other. And Nityananda said, I don't know who your Krishna is. Balaram ordered Nityananda, you better worship my Krishna, my Lord Krishna. And he says, I don't know who your Lord Krishna is. My Lord is Lord Chaitanya. Right? So I'm going to worship him. And then they all started fighting with each other. And then there was bhoga that was offered on the deity plate. And then the two of you, Nityananda and Chaitanya, you started to grab pieces, of like the morsels of rice and other bhoga that was kept on the altar. And then you started putting it in your mouth. Krishna and Balaram came and grabbed that bhoga and put it in their mouth. And then when it was in their mouth, you grabbed it from their mouth and put it in your mouth. She said, what is this? This is like really weird. And she said, as soon as the dream reached this point, Nityananda came to me in a dream and said, Mother, I'm hungry. Please feed me. And she said, my dream broke. And I don't know how to interpret this dream. And Mahaprabhu said, Mother, this is proof that the deities we have at home are actually Krishna and Balaram. But don't tell anyone this dream. Keep it to yourself because this is a very intimate dream. And she said, this is a signal that you should invite Nityananda for prasad and, bring him, that's what he's telling you in his dream. Please feed me rice. So, and then Mahaprabhu added, I used to always wonder whenever the bhoga plate went inside, it would be full. When it would come out, it would be half full. And I always suspected your daughter-in-law, meaning his own wife, Lakshmi Priya. I always suspected your daughter-in-law was sneaking off the plate, the food from the bhoga plate. But now I know what is happening. So he said, I'm peaceful. And Lakshmi Priya was listening inside and smiling, ear to ear, because, she knew that Mahaprabhu was not actually accusing her of taking the bhoga. But this shows, again, Krishna and Balaram non-different from Gaurika. And Sachimata was fortunate to get this darshan in her dream. And of course, Krishna and Balaram were living in her house as Gaurika. Then Mahaprabhu takes sannyas and he goes to Jagannath Puri. Yeah? And all the devotees, they went from Nadia with Mahaprabhu. And they lived there in Puri with him. One day, Mahaprabhu drew Nityananda aside. And he said, Nityananda Dosai, I know you want to be here with me. I also will be bereft without your association. But we haven't come here to this planet just to enjoy Kirtan pastimes with each other and with the other devotees. I want to make the whole world Krishna conscious. And I'm here, I'm in Puri, I'm a sannyasi. What can I do as a sannyasi? I want you to go to Bengal, get married, and as a grihastha, expand the Sankirtana movement. Take this message of Krishna to everyone and teach them how to worship Krishna, to chant the holy names of Krishna, worship Krishna, and consider Krishna as your mother and father. So Nityananda, because for him, going away from Mahaprabhu's association was like a stone in his heart. But Nityananda always considers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his master. So he said, okay, I will do it. So he decided to leave. And he went with his own devotees who are in the mood of cowherd boys. And the stop they made, the first stop they made, actually the Kirtan pastimes that they described, that's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat are so wonderful. They spent 3 months going to Panihati. And they were so drunk with Kirtan that they would go in this direction and they would ask someone, which way is it to Panihati? Or which way is the Ganga? And they would say, Are, you just passed it by like 20 miles or 40 miles, it's that way. And so then they would go that way to the Ganga, but because they were wrapped in Kirtan, they would walk 40 miles that way. And then they would stop someone and say, which way is the Ganga? And they said, oh, it's that way. You have to go, and this was more than just in India, right? In India, no matter if people know the direction or not, they'll point out which way to go. But this wasn't that. People were truly pointing out where to go. And so they spent weeks going to Panihati, and then they landed at Raghava Pandit's house in Panihati. And there's this beautiful kirtan that you see happening there. And in that kirtan, Nityananda said, perform the Abhishek ceremony for me. So he's revealing his godhood there. And he sat on a throne, devotees ran hither and thither, put together a golden throne, and they installed him on the throne, and he sat there, and they brought Ganga Jal from the Ganga, and bathed him with scented water, like hundreds and hundreds of pots, right? And then Nityananda said, after he was dried, what did he offer? The pujaris here, right? We offer flowers, right? We offer cloth and we offer flowers. And so Nityananda said, I really love Kadamba flowers. Can you go get some Kadamba flowers from your courtyard and make a garland and put it around me? And Raghava Pandit said that Nityananda, this is not the season for Kadamba. Kadamba does not grow in this season. And he said, maybe there is one or two flowers, just go look, look at that tree. And Raghava Pandit said, but that's a lemon tree. And he said, just look, right? And so Raghava Pandit found profusely growing Kadamba flowers on a lemon tree, right? Totally out of season. And he was ecstatic. He made like a huge garland. Nityananda was very tall and very broad-shouldered and muscular. So he made a huge garland for Nityananda, and he put it around Nityananda's beautiful form. And the fragrance of that Kadamba was so intoxicating. And Kirtan in the meantime is going on. You see, they're all like crazy with Kirtan, right? With Kirtan Ras. And Kirtan is going on, and suddenly the smell of Damanaka flowers pervades the whole atmosphere. Damanaka flowers, again, they don't grow in Panihati. And so everyone's looking around like Nityananda is wearing Damanaka flowers, but where's this Damanaka smell coming from? And Mahaprabhu had come from Puri. He was standing unseen. You see that in the picture? Where he was standing unseen. And Nityananda told the devotees, you cannot see him, but when you chant Kirtan with genuine love and from the bottom of your heart, not to show how great a Kirtaniya you are, but to really please the Supreme Lord for His pleasure, right? Mahaprabhu comes hurrying there to see what the Kirtan is all about. And he's dancing with us. And the devotees, they were already crazy with, Kirtan Ras love, and they went totally crazy, right? And the Panihati Kirtan, and I'll wind up very quickly. The Panihati Kirtan, when you read it, you'll get intoxicated. What is people who participate in a Kirtan like that? The Panihati Kirtan was so amazing, it lasted for months. And for 3 months, devotees did not eat, did not sleep, did not do bodily functions. They had no water, nothing. They were just dancing in Kirtan. Like, after like the most ecstatic Kirtans, Mayuri, right? We go to Sangha, beautiful Kirtans, but you need to go to the bathroom, you need to drink water, have prasad, then you're like, oh my God, I'm tired, I need to sleep for a few hours, right? And 3 months, non-stop. It's described that devotees, they were in so much happiness and intoxication. They would go to the top of the trees, and then they would be dancing on the trees, and they would go onto the branches, and then even the branches, they would go onto the leaves, which weighed like, maybe a gram or two, and these devotees, even though they are Indian folks, and, Bengalis are little, even then they're not like, 2 grams, right? They're still like, 50 kilos or 60 kilos or whatever. And these devotees would be dancing on the leaves of those trees without falling. Some devotees, they'd be so intoxicated with this kirtan, they would go and hug a tree, but the strength that they got from the empowerment and the personal presence of Nityananda, they would just uproot the tree. And then someone would say, oh, hi, you uprooted the tree. And they would say, oh, sorry. And they would pick up this gigantic tree and then put it back together. And so these kirtan pastimes, you read these kirtans, you read these pastimes in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and a feeling arises in our heart. I want to be in that kirtan. And Krishna is super soul. His only job, I heard one Bhagavatam teacher of mine once telling me, his only role is to fulfill our desires, especially our spiritual desires. Material desires, he gives as per karmic reactions, yes or no, right? So if I want like $2 billion, most likely I'm not going to get it, right? But if I want to be in a kirtan like this with Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, at some point in the evolution of my spiritual journey, I know I'll be in a kirtan, right? And that comes from our desire. And it's important to have the right desires, and which come from hearing about such pastimes, which come from participating in kirtans, and simply, as Sachin Swami says, being sincere. We don't have to try to be a pure devotee, all we have to try is to be sincere. And then these things happen, it's magic, right? And so I'll close off, this is the last slide. So Lord Chaitanya's dealings with Lord Nityananda. So Mahaprabhu, when he gave that instruction, go to Bengal and preach to everyone, right? He said, look, I'm a sannyasi, and I deal with all these people. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the foremost scholar of the land at that time. King Prataparudra, who had a massive empire, right, ranging from Eastern India to Central India down to South India, right? Ramananda Rai was one of the governors of King Prataparudra until he decided to retire and start living in Puri to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Excuse me. So he ordered Nityananda to go to Bengal. Mahaprabhu said, deliver everyone by giving prema bhakti to all the foolish, fallen, low class, and distressed. I think if you look at these four categories, I know I see myself in this. All living entities in the material world can be classified into these four categories, or one of those, right? And he said, get married and preach as a grihastha, which he did. And then Mahaprabhu glorified Nityananda as follows: that you are the bestower of love and devotion to Krishna. That Nityananda is incarnated simply to deliver the fallen souls. Mahaprabhu declared, one who loves Nityananda, actually loves me. He declared that it's not possible to say, I love you, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I don't know who this Nityananda is. In fact, you'll be kicked out by Mahaprabhu. So, let's not do it. Right? And Mahaprabhu said, even if Nityananda marries a meat-eater girl or enters a wine shop, he's still worshipable by the topmost personality in the material world. That's Lord Brahma. Right? Mahaprabhu said, Nityananda, Krishna is your property. You can sell him to anyone. And we see in the bhajans that we chant of Lord Nityananda, and he's in the marketplace of the Holy Name. And what is the price he wants for that marketplace? For giving you Krishna Prema and Kirtanas? Anyone? Shraddha. All he asks for is faith, a mustard seed worth of faith. And in fact, one of the bhajans, it's described that anyone who even has a slight tear in his eyes when thinking of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda rushes to deliver that person. And if anyone loves and offers respect to you, Mahaprabhu says to Nityananda, Krishna will never ever reject that person. In fact, the way to Radha and Krishna, the topmost Vraja Bhakti, goes to Nityananda. You cannot get Mahaprabhu without Nityananda, and you cannot get Radha and Krishna without the pure God. And so Nityananda's appearance is very, very significant in our lives, because I speak for myself. I lack purity, I have no good qualities, but I know that Nityananda has come even to deliver people like me. And all of you are exalted souls, so you can actually just pray to Nityananda and be like, yes, I'm taking you back to Goloka at the end of this life. And Nityananda is very significant in our life for that reason. So today, as we watch the drama and we chant Aarti, let's offer our heartfelt prayers to both Mahaprabhu and to Nityananda and beg for sincerity, because with that sincerity will come the desire to want to serve. And with that desire, Krishna in the heart will fulfill that desire and take us back to God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.